All right, from Morphologis here. I'm giving up on Star Citizen's event. And I have been seeing this in my feed lately. And we have brought up the question on many an Inside Star Citizen review about if the money is being well spent on designing these missions, if people are not having stable gameplay experiences. It's a valid question.
So I just got back from the US and from moving actually to a new house in Taiwan, which is why I've not had a whole lot of time for making content recently.
Dude, have you seen these apartments in Taiwan that you can buy? They're like ridiculously priced. They're so cheap. I don't know why I get this on my YouTube feed, but like penthouses in Taiwan and for $150,000. I mean, like I could never even afford that. But I mean, like, you should see these places. Ridiculous. There's whole YouTube channels devoted to finding places overseas that are like the prices are ridiculously cheap.
Even playing Star Citizen for that matter. So I wanted to sit down this week and finally finish off the Save Stanton mission event, which is supposedly going to be ending come the next patch 4.02 as part of their new effort to focus mostly on content and stories this year over features to try to get the game fixed up before the end of the year, finally making it, a game that's not known for being mostly broken. And we've seen a lot from CIG leading up to the end of last year and in the beginning of this year talking about how they're focusing on fixing a lot of stuff. But when it comes to the actual experience right now, and given that this event is ending, well, I think it's pretty fair to give the whole event and experience a grade. And if you've not already guessed from the title of this video, it's not gone particularly well. Speaking of traveling, if that's something you're planning on doing soon, then the sponsor of today's video, Saley, could probably help you out a little bit.
No. Okay.
No more weird setups or frustrating little... I use it mostly in perfect out of data. What to do is downloading for traveling. You can get 15% off or just scan. So first, a bit of much needed context before going into the experience in this year's Save Stanton mission set. So the mission set that they're running right now is a continuation of last year's story, which started with Chapter 1 of Save Stanton. Basically, there are some baddies from the nearby Pyro system, a lawless system that is causing trouble in the Stanton system, and you're meant to basically help out the people in Stanton to prepare for defending against the incursion, which eventually happens in one of the phases. In total, we had 4, and they consisted of some cargo recovery missions, some combat missions where we had to eliminate some of the operatives that were in Stanton. Finally, there were...
That's a really good question. Coop says, I wonder if Morph is playing on US servers and deals with lag and desync because of the servers he's on. Yeah, that's a great question.
There's a big fight with an Idris incursion and a fleet that came in, and then the last mission set was a little bit of, I don't know, a letdown maybe, with a resupply mission to the Stanton and Pyro Gateway in anticipation of the release of 4.0 and Pyro, but that didn't exactly happen right away, so it was, well, there was a big gap between when that mission set ended and when we finally got 4.0 in our hands. All in all, the story was just okay. It was an interesting way to kind of introduce us to the idea that they were opening up the jump gate finally to a new star system and how these two systems might interact in lore. Ultimately though, the mission sets that they leveraged were pretty conservative as compares to earlier events that they had run, like the Siege of Orison, which definitely involved a lot more innovative and risky game mechanics that they'd never done before, including some really good voice lines by some voice actors and some unique armor for the different bosses you found in the platform.
I'll tell you what, Siege of Orison was a cluster, but I actually enjoyed it. How many of you enjoyed that? Put a 1 in chat if you did. I actually enjoyed it.
That being said, that mission set definitely had a lot of issues in execution. There was a lot of performance issues, so it doesn't surprise me that they fell back onto more conservative yet reliable gameplay loops that they knew worked from other parts of the game. And it had a good mix of combat and non-combat missions depending on what playstyle you subscribe to. If you're more a non-combat player, there was some stuff for you to do, and if you like to go and pew-pew on the ground or in space, well, there was plenty of that for you as well. That is until phase 3, where everybody had to get together to fight the Idris, but that was the exception, as the final phase mission was again another cargo mission, which basically involved no combat. And in a pretty cool move, if you finished all 4 phases, at the end of it you were rewarded with a set of size 2 and size 3 Ardor Pyro weapons, whose stats are basically better than any other ship weapons you can find in game, making them a very nice little sweetener to add into doing these missions. And while it's nothing new in the MMO space, it's definitely new for Star Citizen to give an event reward that gives players a bit of an advantage. Not a huge advantage over other players who don't have them, but a little bit of an advantage with a slight bump in that DPS output. And this stirred a little bit of controversy in the community. Up until now, mostly everything has been purchasable on the website, so having something that you could only get through playing is a bit of a new concept, and some people didn't like.
What do you all think? Do you like it or not? Good poll. Oz, if you're still here, maybe a poll to run to see what results we get. I like to make the streams interactive.
Like that they couldn't swipe their credit card to get it.
Let's see.
But that was definitely a minority of the people who were upset. The majority were upset because the game wasn't particularly stable then, causing some people to miss the window to get it done in time to get the weapons. And it wasn't even that these people didn't have the time to play Star Citizen, it's just that Star Citizen can be such a frustrating and uneven experience that sometimes you could play for hours and just get nothing done because of bugs. And there's where the important context lies for talking about Chapter 2 in Pyro for 2025.
Stability. And it goes right back to what I was saying on the Inside Star Citizen review literally an hour ago. If you guys are watching the highlight on YouTube, I know you probably, there's some space in between as you're on YouTube, but this is all kind of packed together on the Star Citizen After Dark stream. We were talking about, is it worth it? The amount of resources that it takes, the amount of developers, the amount of money to pay those developers to create these missions, if in fact people are having just unstable play experiences. It's still, to me, a very valid question. See, now for Morph, for me, it's not surprising that Morph isn't going to go ahead and go along with this. He tends to have, these issues, and he gets frustrated. Most of us, let's be fair, most of us get frustrated when we get bugs and we have bad play experiences. But I notice when Morph does, like he will pound at something that we already know. Like we already know that's not a stable experience. So my whole angle on this is like, let's focus 2025 on creating a very stable play experience. Let's get back to first principles. Let's get back to the mechanics. Let's get back to everything they said on the Star Citizen live stream, and let's really, really focus on it. Let us not get distracted. Like, again, I feel like these missions, I feel like they're a distraction. I just feel like we really need to focus on the game mechanics.
For Chapter 2 that takes place in Pyro, they went a bit more ambitious.
We got the poll going.
And instead of you just choosing one side, now you've got to choose from 3 factions. And once you choose that faction and do a mission for them, you're locked in with said faction. You could choose to be with the pirates, the headhunters, who just hate everybody and want to fight everybody. And then a shady faction of mercenaries called the Frontier Fighters, who were supposedly fighting for the good of Pyro. And then the goody two-shoes citizens for prosperity, who just want to live peacefully in Pyro. And as you worked for either of these factions, you'd build reputation with them, which would eventually lead to something more in the future. They've got a lot of plans for reputation in Star Citizen, though not a lot of it has been executed on, beyond giving you some missions and some light hostility mechanics in Pyro. But it's definitely not on the level of severely affecting your gameplay like they'd talked about years ago. Now, personally, I went with Citizens for Prosperity because I am a more goody two-shoes player. I'm on the side for good, and the Frontier Fighter struck me as a little bit suspicious. So the first mission set had me delivering boxes to various outposts, eventually leading to Phase 2, where some fighting actually took place, and this is where the issues really started to crop up. You could either choose to go after defending a ship in space somewhere, or go to an outpost and clear it of enemies. But the real choice you had here was just to go clear an outpost of enemies, because I never had a single one of those missions in space actually work. Every single time I'd get a mission waypoint, it'd lead me to a location I couldn't actually quantum jump to. But never mind, just like the last chapter, this chapter allows you to complete one of the 2 missions multiple times to fulfill the quota of 6 or 3 depending on which phase you're playing. This one was 6, so I went for clearing 6 outposts. But guess what? Up until this point, after trying many hours and going through 20 missions, I've only completed 4. Only 4. Because in pretty much every case, the NPCs aren't spawning, I fall through the ground. I can't leave the space station. Just countless frustrating issues with this patch. And nearly the worst part of it is just how much time these missions waste. You wouldn't find out that the NPCs were missing pretty much until halfway through, after you'd already spent 15-20 minutes getting there, after you've spent 15-20 minutes looking for those NPCs, then you discover, they're probably dead or fallen through the ground, or they never spawned, because you can't find the last percentage. And at that point, you just gotta cut your losses, abandon the mission, and try to find the next one, and hope you didn't lose too much reputation.
Yeah, improper spawning of NPCs because of physics grid issues is a pain in the ass. I mean, I gotta give it to Morph on this. He's right. It almost pains me to say this. Like, it almost, like, I am actually agreeing with Morph on this. You know, when you're picking up these missions, this is a bitch I've had for a long time. The missions that we're going, the missions in the Moby-Glass, when you're accepting them, like, more than half of them don't work. And I'm being nice because the percentage is more than 50%. We need to gut that the missions don't work. But, like, so many of them are reliant on this very factor he's talking about. NPCs spawning correctly. You know, this is a big factor on why people are just so upset with missions in general. So I'm giving it to Morph on this one. I'm agreeing.
And with the faction you're trying to do missions with. And I say nearly the worst part because the actual worst part is that they're ending this.
I don't play this game 20 hours a day, but I would say at least 10 to 15 hours a week. I mean, I'm a dad with 2 kids, so I try, man. I try. Jesus, Let's Go's jumping on me. I got the hate from Let's Go. Let's Go. Are you giving me hate, bro? What's going on, Let's Go? Holy shit, Let's Go's giving me... Okay, thank you. It was a joke, he says. Jesus, I was like, Let's Go's turning on me? I know I get that shit from Wooksy, too. I get that shit, that narrative that those content creators love to say about the OGs in the space. I saw a comment on a highlight we did from Board Gamer, and some dude was like, Board Gamer doesn't even play the game. I'm like, yes, he does, motherfucker. You know, like, what's this? It's all these new up-and-comers trying to take away market share from the OGs. You know what I mean? I love it. You know, like, you'll hear some of these motherfuckers will be like, oh, DG doesn't even play the game, or oh, Board Gamer doesn't play the game, or Noobifier doesn't play. I mean, like, we've been fucking around from the very beginning, you young whippersnappers. The fuck? Get back. Respect, man. Where's the respect at for the OGs in this space? We were like the first fucking people to this space, putting content out there for everybody. Get. I know, man. I mean, like, some people call me DeGramps, for fuck's sake. That should tell you right from the start. I've been playing this shit from the very beginning. And you get people like, DG doesn't even play this shit. Get. Like, what? That's those youngins coming in trying to grab that market share from the OGs, you know? That's some bullshit, man. I get so upset when, like, and then I'll see some people in my chat say that shit, and I know where they're at. I know where they're going. I know who they're watching. Yeah, I know who you're watching. I know who you're watching saying that shit. Yeah, you're falling for it.
Chapter with 402 when it comes out, presumably in the next week or so, and introduces a whole new series of event missions for a separate narrative, cutting anyone out who's not finished the mission set from getting these rewards. And you know what? I just don't care anymore.
Right.
I have gotten to the point where I've become so frustrated with trying to finish this stupid mission set that it's no longer really worth my time. There are so many other better games I could be playing right now, and it hurts me to say that. I do like Star Citizen, and I want it to succeed, and I think about Star Citizen when I'm not playing it all the time because it fills a niche that no other game does for me. But when a game wastes tens of hours of your time only to cut you out near the end from getting the reward you've been working towards, it's just such an incredibly deflating experience that it makes me want to put it down for like months before I pick it up again.
Okay, again, I get where he's coming from, but like, most people coming to this title, especially Morph, understand the state of this game. It's not an excuse. It's just the way that it is. It is what it is. I had an ex-girlfriend, right? And, you know, she broke up with me. I mean, that's why she was an ex-girlfriend. Makes a lot of sense, right? And she says, you know, it is what it is. She said, DG, It is what it is. And I was like, well, I can't fucking argue with that. I can't. I mean, like, I can't make you love me. You know, it's a song. Like to hear about it. You know, like, so it is what it is. Like, that's what when you're logging into this is what it is. So, you know, when Morph is like, oh, I'm not playing this for months after this. Well, come on, man. I mean, like, here's what you're going to hear. And I hate fucking saying this, but it is the truth. I hate it when I don't even want to say this out loud right now, but this is what I'm going to have to say. Oh shit. Star Citizen is an alpha. Oh God. Boo! 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 Oh, I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry, man. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. But you know, like, it is what it is. It is what it is. You know?
And I'm sure I'm not the only person who's feeling this. Looking at my comment section from pretty much every video I've posted since 4.0 has come out, many of you guys are feeling in a similar vein. And so much of this is of CIG's own making. Look, I get that MMOs need to have limited time events with rewards is kind of the way it functions. It gives people incentive to play and something to show off to other people who weren't around earlier. It makes them want to engage and stay up to date with whatever's going on in the MMO. But when the game doesn't function most of the time and there's a not insignificant population of people who are feeling left out because they can't enjoy it because of the issues, then I think that there needs to be some kind of adjustment to the way that CIG is doing things.
The adjustment is focus on stability. I've only been saying this for 3.5 years, and you know, it looks like we just got the green light about 2.5 weeks ago with the Star Citizen Live video where they said, hey, yeah, we get it. You guys want stability. They didn't. It's not like they just came to this revelation, by the way. What they did notice was like, hey, we need to stop this fucking like new feature, sales, woo, woo, woo. We're going to grab your money. We're going to grab, woo, woo. I mean, they're still going to do that to a degree. They got to make money. But what they're saying is they're going to put that on the back burner and they are going to focus on stability. At least that was the promise. And to that really perked my ears up. And I was like, okay. I said, okay. I've been preaching it for nearly about 3 years. Like, if you have better gameplay experiences and you have the stability, you don't have these physics grid issues, you're going to see an increase in the player base. You are going to see an increase in sales. In fact, I would argue that you wouldn't even have to create new ships to bring in new revenue with the ship sales. If you had better gameplay experiences and they were more stable, people would just buy the ships. Like that, like what, whoa, what? like, oh, wait a second. You mean I'm having a great experience? Okay, well, now I kind of want to buy some more ships. So I think they've got that. I think that was what they came to the realization is like, hey, wait a second. Let's lay off the Chris Roberts salesmanship. Okay? Let's go a little wild card with this. Hey, maybe we should listen to the fans that have been saying we need to focus on stability for the past 3.5, 4 years, which, you know, I would like to say I was a big contribution and you were in this community to that. And now let's start focusing on the things that matter. First principles, game mechanics, stability, right? But again, on the flip side of everything, we know what we're getting into when we log in right now. We know what we're not having an existential morphologist crisis. Most of us are not like, oh, that's it, fuck it, I'm never playing. You know, like, oh my god, like most of us are just like, okay, you know, I'll play another title if I get pissed off. You know, if I get pissed off and I'm working on a mission and it bugs out on me like most do, then I'll be like, fuck it, I'm gonna pop another title and I'm gonna play something else, or I'm gonna read a book, or I'm gonna watch some fucking TV. You know what I mean? Like, it's not this huge existential monetization clickety clack, the sky is falling crisis. You know, I think, and you know, I'm not trying to be an asshole here, but I think a lot of content creators kind of accentuate the oh no kind of the sky's falling, I'm never playing this again kind of vibe, and then they do that to bring in the views, you know.
They're gonna do these missions in a broken version of the game, then they need to rethink the window. They need to open this up across multiple patches and not just limit it to a single patch. This video wasn't intended to just be a rant on what they need to fix. I wanted to review the actual event and let you guys know how it's gone, because it's done now. I needed to talk about it at some point, and this is gonna be the video for that, but I just can't go into this all happy and shiny talking about how great the event was when I really didn't enjoy it. I had such a frustrating experience with it. In fact, I would go so far as to say
that's good. That's good. Like this needs to happen. Like this needs to happen. This is the reason why they came to the conclusion, like, hey, we need to have a Star Citizen live and explain to the gamers that we are going to focus on stability. I see nothing wrong with this. This is valid criticism. Valid criticism from Morph.
This has been the worst experience in Star Citizen's event series that I've ever had. Worse than Siege of Orison, because at least in that case, I was able to finish it even in its broken state. And it's not just that the missions are broken. There's so many parts of Pyro that have issues, like outposts having holes in them and having geometry issues where I'm falling through them, or the interiors just aren't spawning. This isn't just the event series that has issues. It's like the whole game right now is fighting against me and preventing me from enjoying it. So I hope what you take away from this is that if you're trying to play this event right now and you're experiencing a lot of issues, you know that you're not alone, and that, like me, maybe you should just set it down. Also, if you've not tried it yet, maybe you should step away from it and avoid it for now until they get things fixed up. But I think the number one person I want to watch this is probably somebody from CIG who can make an impact, because I think that there's a big issue here. At the beginning of the year, you guys said that you were going to step away from adding features and focus on fixing the game, to acknowledge that there are problems with it and you need to keep patching. So then why are we tying an event to a patch cycle when in the past it's caused so many issues? Why aren't we doing it where you release patches as you need to fix problems, and just let the event run until everybody can complete it and all the major issues with the event have been solved? I mean, there's a whole section of this mission set.
Yeah, this was talked about. This was actually talked about on the Star Citizen live stream, where they are going to change the entire procedure. In fact, Benoit talked about this.
That doesn't even work and hasn't worked since he introduced it. That's not an isolated, small, unique problem. It's a problem that most people are experiencing. So then why are we moving on to another patch and putting this behind us and shutting out a population who want to get these rewards? You're just making people upset when you don't need to. Is it impossible to let this event continue to run? I don't know. Maybe there's some back-end problem that's preventing them from running multiple events simultaneously. I'm not sure, but something needs to change, because this is definitely not it. It's a very frustrating experience, and I can only speak for myself personally, but I have very little motivation to play right now, and that sucks. So CIG, this event was a good attempt, but please try to do better than this. This is not it. So if you're feeling frustrated like I am, sound off down below, do some venting, and hopefully CIG will listen and make some good changes. I thought they were trying to make things better this year, but this is...
Well, again, we have to realize that the Star Citizen live stream had come out after the fact, retroactively, to all the inside Star Citizens that we're seeing now. So we're seeing we're seeing the acknowledgement that we need to work on stability as of 2 weeks ago, but we are seeing the inside Star Citizens that were recorded prior. So, like, as I said on the Inside Star Citizen reviews, I want to see the shift away from the PvE and the missions, not to slight Elliot and all the level designers out there and the game developers are working on these, but to really focus on, again, the game mechanics. And I think we will see the gears start to shift towards the conversations that were had on the Star Citizen Live event.
This is something that's definitely not better. This is something that they can improve, and it's not too hard to do, at least from my position. So I just want to understand what their thoughts are on this. Hopefully we get some answer and resolution soon. Anyway, guys, stay safe out there. Check your pings. Make sure there are no reds in the area. See you in the next one.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, I think for the most part, Morph was pretty dead on here, you know?